Mother.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Roose Bolton walked over to a dying king, gripped him by the shoulder, and said 6 words. And everybody accepted what those words meant, that this was Roose declaring who he now worked for. The message came from the Lannisters. It was their operation, their regards. But nobody stopped to ask the only question that actually matters here. Did anyone actually send those regards? The answer is no. And what that means for everything you think you understand about this scene and about Roose Bolton goes somewhere most people never looked. Let's go through what happened because the exact sequence matters. Robb Stark brought his army to the twins for a wedding. He needed Walder Frey's blessing to keep marching south. He had already broken one promise to the Freys. He married another woman, and this was the price of that. A formal apology, a new alliance. His uncle Edmure Tully would marry one of Walder Frey's daughters, and the debt would be cleared. The feast looked like every other feast in Westeros. Drink, music, bad jokes from Walder Frey, more drink. And then the band started playing a specific song. The Rains of Castamere, the Lannister song. The song written about the last family that stood against Tywin Lannister and was completely destroyed.
My king has married, and I owe my new queen a wedding gift.
Catelyn Stark understood it before anyone else in that room. She saw the chainmail under Roose Bolton's sleeve. He was wearing armor to a wedding. That is not a man who planned to drink and dance. That is a man who planned to walk out. She screamed Robb's name, and 2 seconds later the crossbows fired. What you are supposed to take from all of this is straightforward. Walder Frey and Roose Bolton had made a deal with the Lannisters. Robb trusted the wrong people. The betrayal was political. The line at the end confirmed it. This was for the Lannisters, signed and delivered. Here's the thing most people miss. Roose Bolton didn't say that line to declare loyalty. He said it to perform a story, and the story was not real.
Queen a wedding gift.
Watch what he does here. Catelyn grabs his wrist and he doesn't flinch. Doesn't pull away, doesn't react with anger or surprise. He just stands there and lets her figure it out. Think about that for a second. A man who has just been caught by the mother of the king he is about to murder, and his face does not move. There is no emotion because there is no conflict inside him. He made this decision months ago. Tonight is just the administrative close. Notice the exact move. When the bolts fly, Roose Bolton does not fire. He does not fight. He steps back and watches. He is standing in the same hall where Stark bannermen are being slaughtered, and he is not moving like a soldier. He is watching like a man waiting for a meeting to finish. That distinction matters. Walder Frey is laughing. The Frey soldiers are killing. Roose is just there, calmly, watching the work get done.
I'll find another.
Mother.
And here's what nobody stopped to actually think about. Look at how long Roose waits. Robb has already been hit by multiple bolts. He is on the ground. Catelyn is begging Walder Frey to let him go. The whole negotiation plays out. Robb even manages to get to his feet. And only then, only once Robb has risen, wounded, barely standing, saying his mother's name, does Roose walk over. Not urgency. Not finishing a job quickly. A slow walk to a man who is already done. He had all the time in the world because Robb Stark was already finished from the moment those doors closed.
Mother.
The Lannisters send their regards.
This is the moment the argument becomes undeniable. He grips Robb by the shoulder. Not a shove, not a lunge, a grip, almost like a handshake. And then the line, delivered flat, no anger, no satisfaction, no theater in the voice. Just 6 words, and then the blade goes in clean. No emotion after, he just steps back. Passionate men stab fast and say nothing, or they say too much. Roose Bolton says exactly 6 words and puts the knife exactly where it needs to go. Not murder, administration. So why? What was actually happening with those 6 words? Catelyn's scream tells you everything the show is going for emotionally. That grief is real. The loss is real. But Roose has already gone blank. He has turned away before she even makes a sound. He has no reaction to her pain because her pain was never part of the calculation. What he said was, "The Lannisters ordered this." That is the story he handed Robb as the last thing he would ever hear. And here is where it all starts to collapse because nobody ordered it. Nobody sent those regards.
The Lannisters send their regards.
Now here is where the books come in, because this is where it gets genuinely interesting. In A Storm of Swords, the line is different. Roose Bolton does not say, "The Lannisters send their regards." He says, "Jaime Lannister sends his regards." Hold that image in your head. One specific man, one specific name. Where did Roose get that line? Months before the Red Wedding, Roose Bolton was a prisoner of the Lannisters briefly. He was at Harrenhal when Jaime Lannister was brought in, mutilated, half dead. And Roose told Jaime about Robb Stark's disastrous decision to marry Jane Westerling instead of a Frey girl. Jaime Lannister thought that was a stupid strategic blunder, and he said, in passing, something like, "Give Robb Stark my regards when you see him." A joke. A throwaway remark about a young king making bad decisions. Roose Bolton kept that line. He held on to it for months. He sharpened it. He decided that those words, spoken carelessly by a man who was barely conscious at the time, would be the last thing a king ever heard. Think about what that means. Yeah, Jaime Lannister never sent a message. He made an offhand comment in a ruined castle to a man he barely knew. And Roose Bolton weaponized it. He turned a dead joke into a killing line. He performed a sentiment that had never existed, on behalf of a man who had already moved on and forgotten the conversation entirely. The show strips out the name and gives you the Lannisters, which is cleaner for television and still correct in spirit. But the book version is darker. Because in the book, you can trace the exact origin of that line. You can follow it back to a specific conversation. You can see the exact moment when Roose Bolton decided, "I am keeping that." Here is where it all comes together. The line was never about loyalty. It was theater. Roose Bolton spent months deciding that a king deserved a final line that would sound larger than the truth. The truth was, this was a political calculation, made well in advance, for land and safety and survival. Nothing poetic, nothing personal. So he dressed it up. He gave it a sender. He handed Robb Stark a story to die inside, one where the great enemy had reached into the wedding hall and done this, not him. The Lannisters, not loyalty. It is performance. And here is where it all connects to everything that follows. Roose Bolton was never Robb Stark's man. Every battle he participated in, every war council he sat through, every strategy meeting where he nodded along, you should go back and watch all of it with this knowledge in your head. That calm face, those measured words, a man running a completely different calculation than everyone else in the room. The Boltons take the north after this. Ramsay happens after this. Everything that follows, Sansa's captivity, the flayed men on the gates of Winterfell, years of suffering, it all flows from the administrative decision that Roose finalized in that hall. A decision made with a fake message and a steady hand and zero emotion. If you had understood the line the first time, understood that nobody actually sent those regards, you would have watched Roose Bolton differently from the very first episode he appeared in. Every quiet moment, every careful silence, every time he chose a word precisely. You would have seen the whole thing. Now you do. If you want more of the details the show buried, the lines that changed in the books, the choices that meant more than the show had time to explain, subscribe. We go deep on this every week. Drop a comment telling me what you think. Did Roose Bolton plan to use that line the moment Hamie said it? Or did he decide in that hall? There is no clean answer. That is exactly the point. I read every comment.